is False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer, fanside.com. I'm joined today by a man, not a martyr, and most certainly not a prophet. He won't preach to you, but here's a caution. You better understand that he won't hold your hand, but if it helps you mend, well, he won't stop it. Go ahead and save yourself and take it out on me, Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. How are you?
I got this nail in my hand, dude. It's crazy. Yeah. Nah, man, I'm doing good. It's you know, go ahead and spoil this for all the starters out there. This is my last show for a couple weeks. Heading to Hawaii in a couple days. So just trying to make it through the last day of work, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so here's kind of an update of what's going on. So this is obviously Monday, March 24th. Cody is going to be going to the luau, or whatever. He's gonna be on the moon.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, he's going to forget about Sarah Marshall there. In
Yeah.
reality, the NC State podcast is a conference out there. He's taking the opportunity to go out there. So I'm going to be doing the show on Thursday, Solo Like Cup. And then Cody and I are going to meet in person again in a little over 2 weeks,
hmm
roughly maybe a week. I don't know. I can't do math anymore.
I have no time is a flat circle, brother. No idea where we
So
are.
So next week, I'm gonna do Solo Like a Cup on for Monday's episode on Sunday because I'm going to Phoenix where people are Phoenicians for our word conference, and then our second half of the show is gonna be Friday when we both come back, and it's gonna be spring break with Antonio.
Oh yeah, it is. We're gonna come back from spring break and go and recap what's going on with Antonio because we always put him in the closet for a couple months, but now it's spring break time.
He's getting restless, and hopefully we don't get COVID like the last time we met.
No guarantees. We'll see what happens. I mean, Florida and Arizona, who could possibly say what's going to happen?
No, you got to get in the zone for the zonies, man.
That's right. That's right.
And we got to get in the zone for having another slice of pumpkin pie with our first and 15 here. Shedeur Sanders has been all the rage about the latest NFL draft chatter. We're looking for like a good topic for the heart of the offseason, and he's been a point of discussion throughout much of the draft process up to this point. Some people think he's going to fall. I think he's not going to make it past three.
Yeah.
Some people, there was also people out there saying that he's arrogant and cocky of a quarterback coach who's picking the top seven. Deion Sanders clapped back at it. We've heard that the Giants want him. We've heard the Browns want him and then don't want him. What the F is going on?
That's a great question. I mean, I share the same belief that you do, pretty deeply instilled. Like, I don't think he makes it past three. And like in a world where he doesn't go three, like in the top three, I don't think he makes it past seven. I don't think the Jets would let him get out of the top 10. So like this all feels like hot air to me. Like it doesn't really register on my radar. It doesn't like come across to me as something that we should take super seriously. Like we hear this every year, and sometimes like when there's something attached to it in terms of like actual off-field issues, yeah, you have to take that seriously because that is something that teams are going to take into consideration. This is just a personality thing. And like we've seen guys with big personalities be taken very high in the draft. Cam Newton was a number one overall pick. Yes, he's way more talented than Shedeur Sanders, but like we've seen like personality clashes don't really matter in the end of the day. Like, yeah, it might turn some teams off, and yes, they're going to create storylines because those teams are going to talk to insiders and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if the Giants like Shedeur Sanders, they're going to draft Shedeur Sanders. They don't give a damn what another top seven team thinks about him.
There's been a lot of quarterbacks taken in the first round with interesting personalities. Jeff George, Cam Newton, Caleb Williams,
Josh Rosen, honestly.
Josh Rosen, Jay Cutler, Ryan Tannehill was kind of weird. Like
Yeah.
Robert Griffin III, who's he goes the size of the sun, or the size of the croissant he ain't got fired for.
Shouts to French bakeries, man. We love them dearly.
Ha ha ha.
Oh,
I mean, I'm probably the only person out there. I think I like Shedeur Sanders so much more than Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward has serious bust potential. I think he actually has the personality issues. It seems to me that Cam Ward is not okay with going to the Titans. I think he may want to force a trade. I'm like, dude, you didn't have a winning season until you went to Miami. You were a 500 quarterback for Washington State.
Yeah.
At least like with Shedeur Sanders, like he's won everywhere he's been. And I also think he's a little more polished. I think he'd actually fit in with what the Giants want to do. I think he'd be great in Cleveland. I think it honestly he'd tear it up with Brian Callahan there for the Titans. But
Yeah.
as I was writing this, yes, I think it was what Saturday. I
Yeah.
didn't want to like play witch hunt about what team I think it might have been. I don't think it's the Giants. I don't think it's the Browns, and I don't think it's the Raiders.
And I honestly, I don't think it's the Jaguars either. Like that's like
No.
Liam Cohen, and then I'm totally blanking on their GM's name, but he's a young dude. Like that doesn't seem like someone that would be in that either. I honestly, it seems like it might be the Titans, if I'm being completely honest with
Yeah,
you. Like that's what
it,
it seems like to me.
it might be the Titans. Honestly, it might be the Patriots too, because they're the one
Hmm.
team in there who doesn't need a quarterback. And like, we know what Elliot Wolf is has a little bit of an ego.
Yeah.
What's his dad's name? His dad was the going guy time guy with the Packers scouting. That's what his name is. I'm blanking on it.
Uh,
It's not Todd Wolf, Todd Von Wolfhouse.
I mean, that's what we're gonna call him from now on.
Uh,
Ron. That's Ron Wolf.
Ron. Yeah, Ron Wolfhouse, Ron Swanson. What if that was Ron's middle name? It was Ron Wolf Swanson.
You can't rule it out. It certainly could be. Actually, isn't it Ulysses? But anyway.
Ulysses, yeah. But yeah, I kind of was reading that. I'm like, I think it's the Titans who would screw that up and everything like that. They'd also be very jetty of the Jets to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like when you come down to it, so I keep one thing that I keep thinking about probably more than I should is Danny Kelly at the ringer.com. He does the draft guide and does the scouting reports. And one of my favorite things that he does is his player comps because they're never like, for the most part, they're not normal player comps. Like last year, he comped Tavondre Sweat out of Texas to the shipping liner that got stuck in the Panama Canal. Like that was his draft comparison for Tavondre Sweat. And for Shedeur Sanders, his comp this year is what if Deion Sanders had a son who played quarterback? And that's the reality that we're living in. Like, do you expect the son of Deion Sanders to not be a little out there? Like,
Yeah.
you're the son of Deion Sanders, one of the most like vocal, one of the most like, if Deion Sanders wasn't as good as he was, like GMs would have absolutely like sent him to the moon. Like that's the thing. But like, so like there is that part of it. But like Shedeur, like you said, Shedeur has been a winner. Shedeur has been a good player. And you listen, like when you hear all of this stuff, you know who you don't hear it from? Everyone that played at Colorado, everyone that played with him at Jackson State. You don't hear this about like anyone within the program that actually had to deal with Shedeur on a day-to-day basis. Yes, he probably is a little cocky. Yes, he probably is a little arrogant. And you know what? He still goes out there, does his job, and plays football very well. And like at the end of the day, isn't that what we're looking for?
100%. So I'm looking at this because Deion Sanders went to my Atlanta Falcons slightly before I was born. I was born into the year of Deion. So
There we go.
let me. So he went fifth out of Florida State. I think he only played 3 years for Bobby Bowden at that point. Four of the top five picks in that draft were Pro Football Hall of Famers. Troy Aikman went to your Cowboys, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Mandrish did a lot of steroids, went to the Packers. He is not there. Barry Sanders out of what Oklahoma State, one of the greatest
Yeah.
college players ever, three to the Lions, and then the late great Derek Thomas, four to the Chiefs out of
Yeah.
Alabama.
Dude, hell of a draft. God
Yeah.
almighty.
There may have actually been another Hall of Famer down here. Steve Atwater went 20 to the Broncos, another good one.
Golly.
Who else? Looking down here, I'm looking for yellow. It was all yellow, not really yellow anymore. But anyway, that draft produced. Oh, Mark Schlereth went in the 10th round of the Washington franchise.
Dude, can you imagine the draft like lasting 10 rounds or longer like it used to, and we have to cover that these days? Like that would be a nightmare.
I mean, back in the day, they used to play 6 preseason games.
Thank God the content business wasn't what it is now.
I mean, people are just like falling over dead at 50 years old. Just
Dude,
having.
steak, eggs, and cigarettes, baby. The steady diet.
I mean, we grew up in an era when you had to have 8 to 12 servings of grain a day.
Yeah, you have to, you got to.
I still don't give that up. But it's like I just feel that like I'm so much more confident in Shedeur Sanders working out than Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward might have like I I don't see it. I never have.
I I'm higher on Cam Ward than you are for sure, but like I think I see Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders a little bit closer to one another than I think a lot of people do. And so like I don't like I think Cam Ward is a lot more situationally dependent. I will say that for sure. Like I am not in love with him going to the Titans. I think it's the pick the Titans have to make, but I'm not in love with the idea of it because, like, I like Brian Callahan. I'm not sure that Cam Ward is necessarily the type of player that we've seen Brian Callahan have success with. Uh, frankly, Cam Ward is not that dissimilar from Will Levis. And so, like, I look at these two players and, like, you can pick apart Shedeur for a lot of reasons, and a lot of those reasons are Colorado related. And that's like, oh, he holds onto the ball too long. I'm like, yeah, his offensive line like bailed on him all the time. So he had to run around, create time, and then just chuck it downfield. That's what the offense was a lot of the time. So like Cam Ward also had a lot of those similar problems. Like he would hold onto the ball too long. He would try to play hero ball. So like I look at these two players and I don't see the gap that a lot of people see. And frankly, I don't have problems. I don't have problems with either of their personalities. That's really where I just come down to it. Like you're a 21, 22-year-old kid who is about to be a top five pick in the NFL draft. You know what I would be if I was about to be a top five pick in the NFL draft? An asshole. I would be an enormous
Yeah.
asshole because and so I don't think either of these guys are that, frankly. I think both of them have immense confidence in themselves, but I don't think either of them are necessarily like bad human beings.
And I don't mean to be an effing asshole, but I thought of a Danny Kelly comp for Cam Ward. And I thought about this, and I'm sitting on this for about 2 minutes while you mentioned that to me because I don't, whatever. Um, Cam Ward is the guy that Danny Heifetz really wanted to be friends with in the neighborhood, and Cam Ward said no, and Danny Heifetz got really sad. And then Cam Ward made Craig Horlbeck do his yard work for him for free, cutting the grass as a racket so he wouldn't get beat up. That's Cam Ward.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
And and Danny Kelly was off at college and back in when he was born.
That's right.
Good old shout out Danner.
Better.
Saw a guy at the wedding this weekend who is like Danner, who only wears a hat, and then he took it off, and he had a tiny little man bun, which I don't do, but like you do sometimes, and we judge it. I just do stuff like this. Like also another guy out there looked like a really sad version of Dave Grohl.
To be clear, just so everyone knows, I do have a pretty decent hairline. I'm just a hat guy. I just always wear hats.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like it's also 8 o'clock on your time too. We're not I'm rocking the power grooves a little bit, but whatever. I'm 35 years old. I'm so washed. I could be I could be running for a Senate for representatives like the late Jack Kemp, who apparently just stopped playing for the Bills to go be a congressman.
Sure, more power to him.
More power to him. I guess he didn't have the juice flowing through his veins.
Guess not. Guess not.
Bob Dole.
Bob Dole.
But I guess Ty on this. I believe that Shedeur Sanders is going to go to the Giants. And if it's not, it's going to be the Browns. And if it's not one of those teams, I don't know, maybe the Jets.
Yeah,
Who
I'm
cares?
like again, like I don't see many scenarios. Like I would say I would put like a 95% chance that it's Browns or Giants. Like I think it's a very minor possibility that he goes somewhere other than one of those two teams.
I would agree. I think, it's about maybe slightly less than 50-50. He goes to one of those two teams. It's like
Yeah.
45% for the Giants, 45% for the Jets. And that's about how many picks I got right here with my Sweet 16 with every rose has torn.
It's phenomenal.
Also, congratulations on being on the show when it's finally been rechristened twice.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, it's bad. It's like my buddy Matt's high school report card that read FCA, four F's.
Okay.
FFFFCA.
And citizenship, baby.
Way training, but okay. Yeah, It's great to be grounded when you're 16 years old, if I tell you that much.
That's right.
Okay. So looking at the bracket thing here, we have the Sweet 16 in the South. We got Auburn versus Michigan and Ole Miss versus Michigan State. I got two of those four.
Hell yeah.
Michigan and Michigan State. Problem is I had Louisville getting going pretty far.
It
And
happens. It happens.
and I had Iowa State winning the South and getting to the national championship game.
Well, you win some, you lose some. That's all you can really say about that. I will say that your Louisville love may have already bitten you just a little bit. Shouts to Miller Moss
Yeah,
out there. But hey, it happens. Like that's when you're picking with football knowledge and not or football acumen, and that's what we're solely looking for. Nothing about the basketball program. This is probably what's going to happen to your brother.
yeah. I'm like Creighton doesn't have a football team, and then Louisville's the better football team right this moment over Auburn. I should have known
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
And then Ole Miss. Maybe we're just too high in Iowa State apparently.
It happens. Like, shouts to Matt Campbell. He does not coach the basketball team, so there we are.
And I did really good on the Michigan State part of that bracket. Marquette didn't have a football team. New Mexico did. Bryant doesn't have a football team, or they do, but it doesn't matter. Michigan State does. And I picked the mediocre Power Four team over the really bad Group of Five team, and they're still going. Problem is, I had them losing to Iowa State, and yeah, unless Michigan wins, I'm pretty much xed out of that rest of that regional.
I mean, that's fine. I'm sure there are a lot of people who actually took the time to fill out their bracket that are pretty much X'd out of that region. So, the fact that you did this with college football and you're not completely dead, that's a good thing.
Shout out 45 and 47.
That's right.
I'll just leave it at that. Moving down to the West, Florida is playing Maryland. Got Florida right. Did not get Maryland right because I was walking to Memphis and they lost immediately.
They lost immediately.
Got another one of them. I got Texas Tech right and Arkansas wrong. I had a feeling I picked Kansas over Arkansas, thinking it was going to be called Arkansas,
Mhm.
but in reality, it's called Kansas now. Yeah.
Kansas.
So yeah, feeling okay about this one. I really need Florida and Texas Tech to win.
I think you might be in a good spot there.
Yeah. Mizzou just failing immediately. Just whenever you want to buy it, Mizzou is the NC State of the SEC. It's the same thing.
And I think the best part about Mizzou is that it extends to all sports. Like it's not just drinking the football team, it's also the basketball team. And NC State, at least, that's just the Dave Doran way of life.
But they're both great academic institutions.
That's right. Yes. You
We
get
all,
a great education there.
hell yeah. Moving on to the East, we got Duke versus Arizona. I think I got both of them wrong. I think I had Baylor playing Oregon. I don't know if I think I may have picked Baylor over Duke. I couldn't quite remember. Did about as much prep for this as Tony Romo. I think I did pick Baylor over Duke. I think they're a little better program right now, but it's
Yeah.
Duke versus Arizona. We're sad, but I'm doing really good there at the bottom with BYU versus Alabama.
There we go. Love to see that. Kalani Sitake getting it done.
Did I almost pick Vanderbilt to beat Alabama because I thought it would be utterly hilarious to see Kalen DeBoer lose to Vanderbilt back to back years to the live dog.
It's happened. The live dog, he never sleeps.
And I did a really bad thing in this tournament thing. I picked like 3-4 teams over threes because I think Wisconsin football sucks right now under Luke Fickell, and I really wanted to vote for Montana. And
There we go.
nah, there was too much grit in my Grizz.
Hey, look, when you can back the Grizz, you absolutely have to back the Grizz. So,
I know the answer to this. So if you're having grits and Grizz, so like, what's worse, to have a little bit of Grizz in your grits or a little bit of grits in your Grizz?
what's worse, I think having a little bit of Grizz in your grits.
Yeah.
You can live a little grits in your Grizz, but you can't live with Grizz in your grits.
I mean, do you want flavor or do you want to poop immediately?
That's right.
Shout out, Grizz. And then yeah, doing pretty good up there on the East, and then the Midwest, Houston versus Purdue. Um Problem is Clemson was my national champion. They lost to McNeese by 2 points in the opening round. Bad
Hey,
stuff.
I mean, if we really want to just justify this, like you were still right because a Clemson grad did win that game with Will Wade at McNeese, Clemson alum getting it done there. So technically you were right all along, except now McNeese is out, so you're not right anymore.
No, and Georgia should have dominated on that part, but they were not ready for March Madness versus the Zogs. And then Houston did not. Hey, Houston had a little bit of problem with the Zogs. Now it's Houston versus Purdue with two teams, I think, that combined to win a grand total of what, 5 games last year.
Hell yeah, brother. They were, reeling them off there. Almost bowl eligible when you combine their power.
And then we go down to the bottom part of it. So Xavier beat Texas, and then Texas stole their coach.
It's tough. It's real tough.
I think I had Texas in the Elite Eight. So I got Illinois playing Kentucky, who I had Kentucky losing to Troy because I really just want to get John Summerall there to Lexington.
Always, yeah.
And I did have Tennessee going far. So Tennessee did beat UCLA. They beat Wofford, and then Utah State beat UCLA. So I'm doing pretty good on that part of the bracket. I got Tennessee, Kentucky, Houston, Purdue. Really, the only thing I got left here is Tennessee, who I think I've got them playing.
Were they
I think
were
I had
they
I,
were they playing Clemson in the Final Four?
yeah, either
Okay.
them or either Sweet 16 or maybe they lost to Texas or something like that. It was too much
Mm.
orange.
Yeah, too much. You can't have that much orange.
So the point is,
Unsightly.
so the point is, 2 years in a row I've done this, and it doesn't work out very well in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, if you're in your bracket pool, I would not advise using the strategy. There are many other like you would probably be better off I know not trying to give the ringer as many free plugs as possible, but Tate Frazier filled out a bracket a couple years ago where he just went all Wildcats. He was like, "This is a Wildcats year," and that seems to work out a lot of the time. Kentucky, congratulations; Arizona, congratulations; Villanova, traditionally, even though they're not in the tournament this year, picking the wild. Like there's a lot of strategies. Using college football to pick your bracket, not one of them.
It does get you pretty good to the Elite Eight. I mean, I'll probably end up having like three maybe there,
Oh
so we'll
yeah,
be okay there. I'm gonna fill out a bracket next year based on just Bill Simmons' disrespect for college football, like whatever stupid take he thinks he would have based in college football. That's how I would do it.
oh yeah.
And if there's a tie, I'm like whatever place he would get more sunburnt at.
There we go. Maybe we should add a wrinkle to it where it's like, I'm trying to think of how we could do it. Like we could almost do the bracket by like the program's best player of all time, and like do just add a little wrinkle to it so it's not just straight up college football. Like who would win like this matchup this year?
Best college football player. Okay,
Yeah, like the best college football player from each program bracket.
so North Carolina, that'd be Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, like put Lawrence Taylor up there, and like I'm sure we'll get into some like if Oklahoma State were to make the tournament, obviously Barry Sanders that we've already mentioned, and like I think you could have some fun with that.
Yeah, Vautech, you'd probably go Bruce Smith.
Yeah, Bruce Smith or Vic, either or. Like I think you're fine either way there.
Who'd you do for Georgia?
George, God Almighty.
If it's pro, you probably got to go like Fran Tarkenton or Champ Bailey.
I was gonna say Champ Bailey. Like if we're just talking college, you probably got to go Herschel. But
Stetson Bennett.
yeah, let's just do Stetson.
Oh my God. So like the greatest Clemson player of all time is what? Brian Dawkins, probably.
Yeah, I'm trying. I can't think of many better than him. Like,
Oh God, Terry Kennard,
I like that. Yeah,
JJ Spiller.
like Texas would be a tough one to like really like hone down who the best would be coming out of Texas.
Best Texas player of all time is probably Earl Campbell.
Yeah, that's probably a good call.
Yeah, and then let's see who else would be. Okay, just because we spent a little time on it. Florida's greatest player ever.
It's
Tim,
we've got to go Tim Tebow. Like I understand that it's Tim Tebow, but you got to go Tim Tebow.
pro pro greatest Florida player ever. I don't know. Jack Youngblood. Let's go with that.
There we go. I was about to say it's definitely not Kadarius Toney. I can assure you of that.
Maryland, either Boomer Esiason or Randy Manster White.
Just Boomer White. We're just going to combine their forces.
So if we had it now, Auburn would be the best Auburn player would be Bo Jackson, I guess, in the NFL.
I mean, Cam won an MVP and made a Super Bowl.
Kevin Green's in the Hall of Fame. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Michigan, Tom Brady. Ole Miss, probably Archie Manning or Patrick Willis.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could go Eli. He did win two Super Bowls. I hate him.
Eli.
I don't think he's that good, and I hate him forever. But you probably could go Eli justifiably.
Michigan State, obviously Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, of course, of course.
No, God, he was the edge rusher. The big the he played like he was in the police academy. He was an actor too. I forgot. He played the NFL for like the God, I forget what his name was, but he played
Uh,
there. Tony Mandrich. No, not
there we.
him.
Oh my.
BYU Steve Young versus Alabama's greatest Alabama player ever. Um, I don't know. John Hanna.
There we go.
Teddy Bruschi, Duke, greatest Duke player ever. Sonny Jurgensen.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I'm just working Purdue, Boilermaker, Cliff, I don't know, Cliff Avery, no, probably Rod Woodson,
Ooh, yeah, Rod Woodson. Cliff Avrill's not a bad call, but Rod Woodson's probably the right call.
Houston, just Bum Phillips,
Yeah, there we go.
Kentucky Dermontti Dawson versus Peyton Manning. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I
That
love
was
it. Like, I
love
think
it.
we could have some. I think we could definitely have some fun with that next year.
That might be the way to do it. Greatest player of all time, and if you don't, that's your famous alumni.
That's right.
So Gonzaga would be John Stockton. Bryant would be Doug Edert.
Oh my God.
Actually, I think it's the founder of Tupperware, but that's neither here nor
Oh my
there.
God. Did not know that. Trivia for the day.
Doug Edert invented Tupperware.
You can't prove it wrong, quite frankly.
And whatever he's doing these days, his current employer goes up there and asks him, it just says this one phrase all the time. You're doing great, sweetie.
That's right. He is.
The Pittsburgh Steelers missed Michigan's pro day to court Aaron Rodgers. I think that's the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. I wrote about this at fanside.com over the weekend. You're talking about there's two pro days you don't miss this year. It's Georgia and Michigan because you're going to be you have three guys who go in the first round at Georgia with Michael Williams, Jalen Walker, and Malachi Starks. Michigan has four with
Hmm.
Mason Graham, Will Johnson, Kenneth Grant, and Colston Loveland.
Hmm.
Like I understand you don't maybe not draft one of them, but there's a team in your division who's got really strong ties to Michigan called the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah. And well, there's also the fact that the two highest prospects, like highest ranked prospects at like that you would realistically have a chance of drafting are at Michigan. Like there's a world where Mason Graham falls to seven. There's a world where you want Will Johnson at seven. So like those are two players that could absolutely help your football team. Like, or sorry, we're talking about the Steelers. I'm thinking about the
That's
Jets, and I
okay.
don't know why,
21.
but
You get Kenneth Grant, you get Colston Loveland. Yeah,
yeah,
that's fine.
like there's a lot you can do at 21 as well.
Yeah,
Regardless, like I still think that if you're the Steelers, like, I mean, it comes back to the Aaron Rodgers of it all. Let's be very clear about this. Like, you're trying to placate a 41-year-old quarterback who is 1 year removed from an Achilles injury. Like, that's dumb. That's just flat out dumb when that's like, that seems to be their sole focus. It's not just that, like, if that was like part of the plan and you're still going to Michigan's Pro Day and you're still doing this, that, and the other, sure. But if you're like abandoning the draft to go and do that, well, you're the Steelers. You aren't exactly known for signing outside free agents. Like, yes, you traded for DK Metcalf this offseason, but like you're not exactly like the most attractive free agent destination in the world. Building through the draft is pretty damn important. And so, like, when you have that situation, if you're the Steelers, man, it feels like you are putting all of your eggs in a very flimsy basket.
well, you just look at the math from this. There's four players that are going to go in the first round out of Michigan. The chances of one of them going in the division is pretty high
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's an eighth of the first round picks are from Michigan, and
Right.
there's eight divisions, so there's probably going to be one guy in there.
Yeah.
The chances of them having two in the AFC, 50%, and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. I was thinking about this as a tortured Falcons and Cowboys fan. I was looking up the five stages of grief, and I think the problem with you and I is we're at a stage 4.5. We're in depression going into acceptance. We just can't quite get to acceptance yet.
I've accepted that I'm depressed.
Yeah. Which I think we're in a better spot than Steelers fans. They're bargaining still. They might be heading towards depression. I see it with Mark Powell every day on the reset. And I'm just like, you needed to get rid of Mike Tomlin yesterday. Like your leg is rotting off. You need to cut it off. It's not working anymore.
That's a really good point. They are definitely bargaining. That is a bargaining fan base. And like I think the worst part is like Tomlin is almost like a toxic like partner in this situation because like they boast the streak of oh he doesn't finish under 500. He hasn't done it in 20 years and whatnot. And you look at that and it's like sure, but what have you actually done and especially done for me lately? And like the answer is not a whole hell of a lot. Like I don't care. Like, as a Cowboys fan, let me assure you, the Cowboys have made the playoffs plenty of times. You know what they haven't done? Had postseason success in my life, really. Like since I've been like a cognizant human being, and since I like became a fan when I was 4 years old, and they were winning Super Bowls, and I was like, this is gonna last forever. It didn't last forever. Now
Yeah.
they make the playoffs and they exit really quickly, and that's not a fun life to live. Like it sucks. It's why I'm accepted that I'm depressed as a Cowboys fan, and so like the Steelers are in that spot. They just don't realize it. Like they're in the
No.
exact same thing.
No, I think Falcons fans just the most toxic thing. I had to mute a guy because it's just you're just the most negative human being alive.
Yeah.
He lives in Denmark, so leave it at that.
The funny part about Cowboys fandom is like even the most like jaded Cowboys fans on the internet, there's still like this like tinge of optimism that like all of us have, which is just really terrible and sad on our part. But like we all know like I can spend the entire offseason talking a whole lot of crap about the Cowboys and about how I don't like the position they're in. I don't like what they did, this, that, and the other. Come August, I'll talk myself into them being a playoff team. I guarantee it.
I'll do the same thing. I go through all the stuff on the Blog and Dirty podcast every week and everything. Like I pretty much say, yeah, we're gonna make the playoffs this year. We're gonna win a game, and we win like six.
Yeah.
No, we win seven. I guess 7-10. Um, again, you go back to Rodgers. You're placating a 40-something-year-old. Honestly, I wrote about this. If the Steelers just bring back Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers needs to retire. It's over.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I was on the Stack in the Box podcast with Sterling Holmes a few weeks ago, and we played quarterback matchmaker, trying to match for all these quarterbacks before anyone had really signed at that point. I think Darnold was still unsigned at that point, and we were doing matchmaker, and Sterling predicted the couch for Aaron Rodgers because he said that's the only place he needs to be. Like if you're trying to, like I think that, and like if you're the Steelers, that should be eye-opening for you, shouldn't it? Like the fact that you're his only option and you're still placating him like he's the prettiest girl at the bar. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Like they haven't won a playoff game since they drafted TJ Watt. Every other team in their division won a playoff game more recently than them, including the Browns, who beat you during COVID.
Who beat you in the playoffs? Yeah, absolutely.
And like it's just the most like placating thing ever. It's like they don't want to like draft a quarterback. I'm of the belief just go draft Jackson Dart and try. And if you fail, then you get rid of everybody and try again.
Yeah.
Like it's I think it's these old like second and third generation fan base or ownerships. It's like, does John Mara actually know what he's doing? No, he kept Brian Dibble and Joe Shane around, which I don't understand.
No.
Um, like it's the Steelers. It's you're missing on a program that has a lot of like a really good player development thing. I would venture to guess of the four players out of Michigan who go in the first round, at least one of them is going to be a star in this league for a long time. I'm not going to say who. I'm leaning towards probably Mason Graham, who I think is the next Warren Sapp, but
Yeah.
Colston Loveland could be like a fantasy darling and a tight end. Kenneth Grant could be the next Jadeveon Clowney. Obviously, Will Johnson. I want to see him be like the next AJ Terrell, playing opposite AJ Terrell. That'd be great. But
Yeah.
you have to like. I don't understand that the Steelers sent their whole contingency to Athens for the Georgia Pro Day. Maybe they're leaning in that direction, but like you got to do your homework because one of these four players is going to play in your division.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like if you're the Steelers, look at where you've like made your bread and butter throughout your entire history, even with Mike Tomlin. Like you go back to, I know he's absolutely insane these days, but Antonio Brown, you go back to
Yeah.
Antonio Brown. You went and scouted him at Central Michigan. You found a guy who you're like, oh my God, there's something here that no one else is really seeing, and you made him a star. You go back to Juju Smith-Schuster, like who broke out immediately with the Steelers, and like I remember during that draft process, there were a lot of people who were looking at that and being like, man, Juju really does, he's not that great of an athlete. He doesn't do this, that, and the other. Like he might, he's probably going to be a day two pick. And the Steelers were like, yeah, he's going to be a day two pick, but he's going to be an early day two pick because we're going to take him, we're going to develop him. And like they made their bread and butter through the draft. Like even the TJ Watt pick, like the Cowboys whiffed on that. They took I'm totally blanking, Taco. They took Taco Charlton over TJ Watt, and the Steelers were like, sure, we'll take the better player between those two. Absolutely. And like now you're sacrificing what has made you good to some degree to get a 41-year-old quarterback who maybe plays for 2 years if you're lucky.
You're playing the black and blue division against three teams with elite pass rushes who hate you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
do
And
you
also teams that generally I think are pretty well run organizations as well.
I would say, like we've talked about this before, outside of the Deshaun Watson thing, you say that Andrew Berry has drafted well.
Yeah.
I talk glowingly about Duke Tobin and the job that he does under the circumstances under the Browns and Blackburns in
Yeah.
Cincinnati. And then obviously the Ravens are one of the most
They're a
well-run
machine.
organizations.
They're a
They're a machine.
machine.
Ozzie Newsome, Eric DeCosta does not matter.
Just plug and play in the Baltimore front office.
I guess like the last thing is you talk about it with like, I feel like we're back there in like the mid 90s, like maybe the end of Chuck Noll in the early 90s, the early part of Bill Cowher, where like they've got the pass rush. They got Kevin Green, they got Dermontti Dawson, they got all these other players, but like Neil O'Donnell's their quarterback. And there was a lot of Neil O'Donnell's and Cordell Stewart's and Bubby Bristers in between Terry Bradshaw, Tommy Maddox, and then Ben Roethlisberger. You're in that now.
I do. There is one thing that I just thought of. I'm not going to pretend like this is a thought that's been marinating on for a while, but I wonder if you wanted to read way too much into the situation, if this is a sign they already know what they're doing in the first round. Like,
Yeah.
are they already like just have they already said, hey, Jackson Dart, if you're there at 21, you're our quarterback. Like you're going to be the backup to Aaron Rodgers. Which, if that's the case, I hate this a little bit less.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I still think it's not doing your due diligence because Michigan has more prospects than just the top four, man. And like
Yeah.
you said, they've done a really good job of developing talent. There's a guy, Josiah Stewart, probably going to be round three, round four pick. He's not a full blown, he's not an every down edge rusher. But on third down, when you're the Steelers, you know what you do? You pin your ears back with TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and you get after the quarterback. That's what Josiah Stewart does pretty damn well, too. And so, like, you can get another guy in there that does that.
You're talking about two of the best programs of the playoff era. They've got dudes like Dan Jackson did get invited to the combine. He's going to get drafted. He's like the sixth or seventh round, and
Yeah,
he's going to be like the next Jim Leonard in the NFL for like he's
100%.
yeah. That's the guy who basically told me Georgia was going to win the national title in 21. Like he blocked that punt versus
Hmm.
Arkansas, and I'm like, oh, it's happening. It's finally happening. The other thing that I think about with the Steelers is you're absolutely right. If they want to get Dart at 21, that's wonderful because that would make sense with Rodgers. And if Dart's not available, just get Ewers or Milrow. Like at least have a plan. I can get behind that even if it's a reach. Like
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. You're at least you're trying. You're trying, Jennifer.
I'm okay if you have a plan. It's when you don't have a plan and that's very apparent to everyone and that it's a real problem. And like it's one of the like, not to tie everything back to the Cowboys, but it's one of the things that just infuriates me with the Cowboys is even when they make a good move, it doesn't seem like it's done with any like foresight or a plan in place. Like it feels like it's done just because, hey, we think this is a good player. Like I love CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb is a top five wide receiver in the NFL. At the same time, they did not need a wide receiver and they just picked him because he was the best player available. And like they didn't really have a plan thereafter of what they were going to do to kind of like build around that.
The Falcons just I don't know what they're doing. It doesn't matter. It's
I don't
fine.
know what they're doing.
There is one thing that is very concerning with me with the Steelers, and I think it's a bigger deal. I'm just going to say it now before we move on to the second half of our show.
Yeah.
Um, they never went and pursued other people's wide receivers. It was always like the Packers. They always went to the grocery store. They always bought the ingredients. They always developed it. It goes back to Lynn Swann and John Stallworth, Yancey Thigpen, like
Yeah,
Antonio Brown. Like they've always done that. Well, they go get DK Metcalf, and that's an Omar Khan thing. Like Kevin Colbert would never do that.
right.
And I'm just kind of sitting there thinking, like, maybe this is a sign that they've continued to lose their way.
And it's entirely possible. Like this has been an all. Actually, honestly, you go back to last offseason when, you signed Russell Wilson and brought in Justin Fields. Like that's not very Steelersy either. Like it seems like they are losing their way a little bit under Omar Khan.
I mean, they're trying, Jennifer, and we're still driving, Cavender.
That's right.
Yes. Kirby Smart kind of sort of finally does something about Georgia's need for speed, brother. He suspended two players, Nitro Tuggle. I mean, his nickname is Nitro.
I
Going
mean,
past
all time name team, especially if you're getting arrested for reckless driving.
and Marquez Easley as well. It's why I'm Easley.
Yeah, yeah. Driving into a house on Sunday morning. Do what you do.
I know. I feel like I'm like the punching bag. Everybody in the Big Ten's like, fighting about this. Like, you can't drive. It's 2 degrees outside. You have snow and you have chains on your tires. I wore a t-shirt yesterday.
Your
Kiss my
vehicle,
ass.
your vehicle is your legs.
Walked up hills both ways from there. So I'm like, you live in Chicago, it's flat. What are you talking about?
You walked right into the lake. Don't play.
Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
God. That was amazing. Perfect unison there. It's like we're twins.
That's
We're
right.
twins, Basil twins.
Twins.
I think Kirby's just had enough of it. It's just like he's just tired of defending it, trying to. I mean, you're not gonna like kick somebody off your team until now for driving. Obviously, the Athens Clark County Police, it's different. I'll say this until I die. They hate the fact that like there's a university there,
Yeah.
like to punish people up there, the rich kids and the athletes, people who are just richer, smarter, and better than them. Which is
Yeah.
runs counter to the whole reason Athens exists is so they could build a school. Like,
Look, I'm gonna try to offend as few people as possible with what I'm about to say next, but the northern parts of Georgia don't make a whole lot of sense to me a lot of the time, and this fits into that category.
yeah, I mean, most of Georgia doesn't really make
That's
sense.
true. The southern parts of Georgia don't make a whole hell of a lot of sense either.
To be totally honest with you, the only two places in Georgia that actually make sense is the Golden Isles and Helen. And
Yeah, right. 100%. Shouts to Helen. Helen's a
yeah.
beautiful place.
For those not in the know, it's in White County. It's up there on the Blue Ridge Mountains where the Chattahoochee is. They basically turned it into a German mountain town.
It's awesome. You don't know what's happening. You feel like you're lost in a time machine, but it's great.
My best friend James grew up right up there on the border, and he used to hate it. And now he's understood. It's like this is good for us. And it's like,
I honestly I didn't like ever process the idea that people actually live there. Like you ever go to a place that's just so like obviously touristy that like you never process the fact that people actually live there.
yeah, man, it's called Central Florida.
Fair, fair.
Dude, and oh, we were watching. I was watching Somebody Feed Phil. You ever watched that show on
No, 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 no.
Netflix? No, Phil Rosenthal, the guy who created Everybody Loves Raymond.
Okay.
He's just a skinny 60 something Jewish guy who just goes around and like eats food all over the place. He's very enthusiastic, just a raging dork, but we love him anyway.
Absolutely.
He was talking about this. People like Venetians were bitching about people coming to Venice. So I'm like, dude, your town shouldn't even be here. It's on petrified wood pikes. Like, just shut up and enjoy your cheese and wine.
I was actually I saw something on Twitter the other day that was they were asking people at the Barstool office of what country has the highest crime rate in the world, and it's Vatican City because only like 800 people live in the Vatican City, but it's a huge tourist attraction. And the way the guy put it was, and those tourists get their pockets picked quite a bit, so the crime rate is out of this world.
I came across this the other day. It basically showed what like the 50 most populous countries in the world. It's like Canada or bigger, basically.
Yeah.
And it said like what percentage chance would people like if they find a wallet, will they return it and will they return it with money? Like all but like three will they like the chances of like if they find the wallet, like they will turn it with money.
Yeah.
There are two out there that like they'll give you the wallet back, but they'll take all your money. And it was Italy and Mexico. They don't care.
I found your wallet. Sorry, all the money was gone. I don't know, man.
I am very. I've been to one of the few times I've been proud to be American, and in recent weeks, it's like the United States is like right in the middle, like right there with the UK. It's like, if they find a wall, they'll return it back probably like 60% of the time, and 80% of the time it'll have its money in there.
Yeah, I mean, like it might not have all the money. I might give myself a little tip for my trouble, but like I'm gonna give you most of it back.
Yeah, I think most people realize how awful this is because they just know how terrible the DMV is, and they're like,
Oh,
you know what?
100%.
It's like everybody's had this at some point. You've had your phone and wallet stolen.
Oh,
Lucky.
speaking of New Mexico being last in education, we don't even call it the DMV out here. We call it the MVD, which is just dumb.
Motor Vehicles Department.
I think so, but I would not like it wouldn't surprise me if that wasn't what it actually stood for.
No, it's like the KGB. It's like it's Russian for something.
That's right, yeah.
Or the World Canadian Bureau, the WBA, World Canadian Bureau.
That's right.
God, I'm gonna miss you when you're in Hawaii because I'm gonna be talking to myself with really wet hair, and as opposed to we're still driving Cavender.
Yeah, we're still driving. And I guess to circle back, because we barely touched on the Georgia thing, like it is a good thing for Kirby Smart to like kind of be like, man, look, we can't be doing this because I've taken what you said to heart about the Athens Police Department. At the same time, like, what is this, like the 25th or 26th
Yeah.
arrest that we've had in this capacity? And like at a certain point, like you've gotta do what you can to nip it in the bud. Again, I don't like given the history and things that have happened at the Georgia program, like, yes, I understand why it should be taken seriously. At the same time, like when I was not 18, 19, 20 years old, I probably could have been arrested for reckless driving plenty of times. Like that's what like you're dumb kid. Like that's what it boils down to. Kirby, I think the one thing he has to do, and I think this is a good step in the right direction, is to tell these dumb kids, like, you have a bit more responsibility than the other dumb kids that you're with. Like, yeah, your buddy that you're living in an apartment with, he might not have the same responsibility as you do. You represent the Georgia football program. You represent something bigger than the University of Georgia. You represent something bigger than yourself right now. And I think this, like, once you start like actually handing out penalties for that, I think that message starts to get across a little bit clearer.
And this isn't just a Kirby problem. Like this has been happening when I was in school with Rick. Like not to this
Yeah,
degree,
yeah.
but like it's gonna happen if you have like I don't know who's the most saint-like head coach of all time and who's the worst coach
I
of
mean,
all
I mean,
time.
first of all, it's Dabo. Let's be obvious. Like, we gotta be obvious about that.
I mean, it could be Dabo or it could be Joe Pa. And Joe Pa's like, they don't have cars.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I will say, like, one of the things, like, it was happening under Richt, and like, I'm sure it's happening at other universities as well. And the other thing that really comes to mind with this is how NIL really doesn't help this
No.
because you've got kids as opposed, like, I'm sure even in the Richt era, there were guys who were showing up without a car. Like, there were
Yeah.
guys showing up who did not have a vehicle. Now you show up and you've got an $80,000 car just ready there waiting for you. So like that definitely is a factor in all of this.
Yeah, it's like Motley Crue.
Right.
You go from sleeping in Tommy Lee's van to rest in peace Razzle. This is
That's
all stuff.
oh my God. Yes,
uh
exactly.
Vince Neil. Just
Vince Neil, yeah. Don't let Vince Neil run a football program. That's all I can say.
I don't know. He could be like Rick Pitino.
The tournament.
Tournament. Don't really have much to add to this. It does seem like it's a step in the right direction. You are absolutely right. I think NIL is like expounding this because it's like, here's another shiny new toy. Here's some keys. If you get, if you just go, man.
Yeah, 100%. Like I drove a beater in college, and there
I
was a
still,
reason for that.
I still do, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, the window in my car, like it's at the point where like it comes off the thing, so there's like a little tiny slit where like the wind goes through. I made the mistake of rolling down the window to yell at the Arizona State podcast about something like, I was like, okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Man, got to need to win the lottery.
That's all right. Real bad.
And when I win the lottery and they ask me if I want to get it in an annuity or all up front, the person just says, do Haas or do Haas.
It's all right.
Do we really like Ron Rivera taking over at his alma mater as GM at Cal and Andrew Luck taking over as the GM at his alma mater of Stanford?
I'm gonna have to give you two separate answers here. For
Yes.
Rod Rivera, I'm going Duhas two S's. With Andrew Luck, I'm going Duhas one S. And Rod Rivera hasn't been a good head coach in football in quite a while. And I don't know if he is the right guy to really guide Cal in the right direction. Like I'm not sure that Ron Rivera really has his fingers on the pulse of 17 and 18-year olds and how to get guys into the program and how to identify talent and how like all the things it would take to make Cal as successful as it possibly can be. I'm not sure Ron Rivera is the guy there. Andrew Luck, I think, is the right guy for Stanford. Like I think that's you're talking about in modern history, probably the best player to come out of Stanford in the past 20, 25 years, or some like at least close to it, if not the absolute best. And he's also a guy who I think when you look at the way he stepped away from his NFL career, when you look at the way he's handled himself throughout all of this, I think he's a guy who's just very thoughtful. I think he's a guy who thinks deeply about these types of things. And I think he's the type of guy who obviously Stanford was successful under him and he's seen what that takes. And I don't think the formula, even in the NIL era, is that dissimilar from what it would take when he was in college to be successful. So, like, I look at all of this and then you throw in, like, let's be real. Andrew Luck has a little bit more name value than Ron Rivera to a 17 and 18-year-old. Like they know who Andrew Luck is. They might be like, Ron Rivera, didn't he coach the Commanders that one year when they sucked? And yeah, that's what you're gonna get with Ron Rivera. So like I think that there are more positives when you look at Andrew Luck potentially running in this role than there are for Ron Rivera.
I'm actually on the complete opposite side of both
Okay,
these for
okay.
you.
Love
So
it.
I'm Duhast one S with Ron Rivera, Duhast two S's with Andrew Luck. I like your arguments are strong, and I respect that. I'm just going with a different take because I'm just a contrarian ass.
No, I like it. I like it.
I believe that Ron Rivera's experience in the NFL is going to help Cal become the team that it had been under Jeff Tedford, or where they're basically always producing high-end players. Like every time that I remember interviewing Marshawn Lynch back that day. I'm like, what makes Cal players different? Like, why is Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers, Keenan Allen, Alex Mack,
Hmm.
try to think who else was on there. Like, why is everybody like they say they come to the NFL from Cal and they're ready and they Tony Gonzalez like they seem to
Yeah.
start and he's like yeah we had a professor who was like with the business school that kind of like, got brought us in there and kind of showed us like how to plan out our day and everything like that and also everybody out there is pretty smart and I think adding some sort of NFL regiment with Ron Rivera's experience coaching in Washington, coaching the Panthers, being an Andy Reid disciple, being a Cal football legend, won a Super Bowl with the Bears and stuff. I think that does carry cachet
Hmm.
for them, and I think it also maybe gives he'd been on the East Coast, so maybe he can help Justin Wilcox kind of bridge that gap to playing in the ACC. Like I'm a little more on this, but again, he's not really a GM. Also, the man's beat cancer twice, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna rule him out there.
To be clear, I'm not trying to be mean to Ron
No, no,
Rivera.
no,
It's
no,
just
no,
been a
no,
minute since he's been a good football
no,
coach.
no, no. I'm kind of down on Andrew Luck for this. I think there's stuff working against him considerably. Well, first off, Stanford's in the same situation as Cal, and Stanford's probably the most anonymous Power Four program right now. Like, we never talk about them.
Yeah.
Bernard Muir just resigned as AD. You won a bunch of athletic directors cups and a bunch of frivolous nonsense, and your football team sucks and your basketball team's okay. Like,
Yeah.
and then you got Troy Taylor, who is just is not a nice person apparently.
Yeah. Apparently not a great dude.
And Andrew Luck, he kind of stepped away for a while and was very academic. He's a day younger than me. Him and Freddie Freeman, I missed the boat by a day,
There we
man.
go. So close.
Um, so you got Andrew Luck kind of growing up as like a rich kid in Houston because of like, your dad was like founding UNFL Europe, played for the Oilers in West Virginia, former athletic director, conference commissioner and whatnot. I'm kind of concerned that like the biggest thing that hurt Andrew Luck in the NFL is he would not be the word of the episode, an asshole. Like he would not demand. He let Ryan Grigson and he let Jim Irsay and he let Chuck Pagano just ruin his career, let him ragdoll him. Like just was just too nice. And I'm kind of afraid that he might get stepped all over out there at Stanford. And he's very smart, and I think there's so many really smart guys out there that have Stanford ties, whether that be Jim Harbaugh, whether that would be Dennis Green back in the day, whether that would be Bill Walsh, whether that would be Mike Messina, John Elway, John Lynch, a lot of really smart guys out there. But you got to get something beyond just Andrew Luck to kind of unify them together because Stanford athletics just seems so incredibly fractured right now.
So two things on the Stanford point. First of all, you make good points on both cases, and I do think that I am probably discounting some things with Ron Rivera at Cal that you are more heavily considering. So it'll be interesting to see. Like I'm not saying it's destined to fail. I'm just saying I'm pessimistic, I guess is where I'm falling down on that. But I think you raise good points there. With Stanford, I had two thoughts. One, in terms of Andrew Luck and his NFL career and how that played out, I think that's more of a Colts issue than it is an Andrew Luck issue. Like I don't we to my knowledge, do we know that Andrew Luck didn't say, "Hey, could we get some, protection, some offensive line?" And then Jim Irsay just looks him right in the eye and is like, "I gotta go save this whale. I'll see you in a little bit, brother." So like that could be a Colts problem. Then I have just a great idea. If we are worried about Andrew Luck getting stepped on, bring in another Stanford alum that I assure you will not get stepped on, and then I also think will be really good for the program. The Andrew Luck Richard Sherman tag team as the GM of Stanford. That's a recipe for success right there.
You do that, and honestly, get Elway to be the AD.
Oh, love that. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
that would be incredible. Or get the Lopez twins.
There
Just
we
bring
go.
it.
There we go. Yeah. I mean, that's more entertaining for sure.
But I think this is very interesting that we're on completely opposite sides of this with both the Rivera hire and the Luck promotion, if you will. And I think with the other ones that have happened this offseason, I think we were both in agreement that Kevin Colbert to Colorado State's good.
Absolutely.
We also like Jim Nagy to Oklahoma a lot.
I really do. Absolutely.
And I believe you're a big fan of Michael Lombardi with North Carolina as well, or mixed reviews a little bit.
Mixture, kind of with the entirety of the North Carolina football program
Yeah,
right now. I'm just like, it's interesting. Let's see what happens. Like, I don't know if I'm favorable, but like, I'm excited to see what happens.
like slightly positive, whereas like Colbert and like Nagy were like, "Oh, this is gonna work."
Yeah, like if I'm talking like percents of positivity, like I'm like 95 to 98% on those guys. Michael Lombardi, I'm like a 55 to 60%.
Yeah, it's nice, balmy, 55 degrees outside.
There we go. Yeah, put on a nice light jacket and be good to go.
And I think just to tie a bow on this before we show each other how to live.
That's
And
right.
I think this is more of like it just shows like how difficult the Cal and Stanford
Yeah.
jobs are because tremendous academic institutions. You're in an area of the country that is kind of apathetic about college football. There's a lot of other things going on. You're playing in a league that's centered around Tobacco Road, and you're in a Silicon Valley. You got to just kind of you got to get everybody on the same page because if you don't, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's a beautiful area of the country, two great institutions, but at the same time, like those areas, and I don't want to, prescribe like sweeping generalizations, but they don't tend to like they do not care as much about the money sports and college sports as other institutions, particularly in the ACC. But like Stanford's got a hell of a golf team. Stanford's got a hell of a swimming program. Cal is also competing in a lot of those arenas and stuff like that. I do
Mhm.
think Cal cares a little bit more. I just think they have a lot of disadvantages that they're up against. Like they do have a rich football history. Like you just talked about it. Speaking of, I have a quick Cal story that I heard last night that I thought was awesome. It was Marshawn Lynch doing an interview, and it was during his freshman year at Cal. He was talking about the first play he got in the game, and he ran the wrong way on halfback power. And Rodgers turned around and handed it off the other way, and like Marshawn Lynch scored a touchdown. He gets to the sidelines, and his running backs coach and the head coach are just ripping him a new one because he ran the wrong way on the one time he gets the football. And it made me wonder what the hell happened to Aaron Rodgers, because Marshawn Lynch says that Aaron Rodgers went over and took the blame for it. And he goes, "No, that was my bad. I called the wrong play." And he goes, "And I made it. I made it work, but like I called the wrong play there." And I just could. I was so struck by the fact of, can you imagine Aaron Rodgers at 41 years old doing that now? Like the dude like lives to throw people under the bus nowadays. And like back in the day, he was like looking at a freshman running back in Marshawn Lynch and being like, "Nah, like that was my bad. That was my fault." Even though it really wasn't. Like Marshawn Lynch was like, "No, it was 100% me that ran the wrong play."
I think you're just talking about three really special people with Lynch, Rodgers, and Jeff Tedford all coexisting at the same time. First off, Cal's the number two in the Pac-10 at that point behind USC with Pete
Yeah.
Carroll. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers was playing like at Butte Community College, and Marshawn Lynch was like a freshman out of Oakland Tech and everything like that. Both California guys as well. I think Rodgers from Chico. I think, well, obviously Marshawn's from Oakland and everything. They're all coming together, and I think that they probably both knew at that point, like this guy is going to be playing next level too. So you can kind of just tell.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a big deal.
But then, Marshawn Lynch just they all went different directions.
Very different directions, yes.
And we're going to go in a very different direction here with just like Novocaine here. We're going to do some Audioslave, the super group in the 2000s from basically '02 to '07. They briefly came back in 17, and obviously with Chris Cornell's passing, that kind of brought into that.
Yep.
You've got basically the lead singer of Soundgarden and the rhythm section and Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine coming together.
I mean, it's the perfect recipe. Let's be real.
It's
like I love it so much.
People who love Rage Against the Machine don't like Audioslave because it just doesn't sound like this. People who like Soundgarden really dig it.
See, I'm an equal opportunist. I like them all.
Oh yeah.
So
So Nail in My Head from my creator, You Give Me Life Now, Show Me How to Live. Who is that?
that's Shedeur More, baby.
Yes. That's exactly who I had too.
It has to be. Like Jim Harbaugh created what Michigan became in the modern era of college football. You won a national championship, perfect season under Jim Harbaugh, and then he just hands the keys and nails Sherrod Moore to this program and is like, "Hey, brother, go ahead, good luck." And like Sherrod Moore, we don't know if he knows how to live yet, but we'll find out pretty soon, I think.
And with the early dawn, riding on. This is also like besides Coach Eyes, which I mentioned at the beginning. That was named after like the Apache chief who basically fought off like settlers and stuff.
Yeah.
On the topic of I'm Still Driving Cavender, that's Georgia just going really fast to this
That's
song.
right.
Also, Chris Cornell in the music video, just with the Detroit Wayne just going, looks like the most like I'm like that is a quintessential rock star. That's not even like who is this guy? That's like the first song I heard about obviously when I was like 12.
Oh yeah, you're like looking at him and you're like wondering like, how do I be like you? Like, what do I have to do in my life to be that?
But at the same time, that wouldn't be being myself. Who needs to be yourself? It's all that you
That's
can do.
that's right. So that's Mike Gundy, of course. No one is more himself than Mike Gundy. And like, does it work out? Not always. But is it entertaining? Hell yeah, it is. And it's a good song. So that's why I went with Mike
I've got
Gundy.
Gundy a little later. My two, I've got Dylan Raiola, you need to be yourself.
Yeah, dude, brother. Yes.
And Someone Falls to Pieces, Sleeping All Alone. The one coach who I think probably does that more often than anybody else is Brian Kelly.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
It's like you're gonna need to go sleep on the couch there, bud.
Yeah. Permanent residence.
Doesn't remind me the one slave song that doesn't sound like any audio slave song out there.
It doesn't sound like a whole lot of anything else. Like it's a very strange song, honestly. Like until we like started putting these songs together, I had forgotten about this song, and then like it hit me. But I went with Britt Brennan. This doesn't remind him of anything. Like Arizona's not in a good spot. You got the Short King shout like we love Noah Fafita, but program's not in a good spot. This doesn't look like San Jose State. This doesn't look like anything that you've ever seen in your college football life. So yeah, I went with Britt Brennan because just seem it's a pretty depressing song if we're being real honest, and it's not good vibes in Arizona right now.
Yeah, I mean, my two are kind of more good vibes, I would
That's
say.
good. That's good.
A lot of the songs are about like religion and stuff, and the tones of it. Who knows what Chris is going through at that point? But I got Deion Sanders in the Colorado program because that doesn't remind me of anything I've ever seen before.
That's facts. That's big facts.
And the same thing applies to Dave Clawson in the slow mesh. Doesn't remind me of anything.
No, 100%.
Who's out of exile?
There's one answer to this, and I hope we have the same one here. It's Rich Rodriguez, baby.
Yeah.
He's out of exile, back in Morgantown, West Virginia, brother. This is where he's always meant to be.
And that's who I had. And because I knew you were probably going to have that one too. Same with Shermore. I knew that we were going to have two.
Yeah.
Um, Dan Mullen, welcome back.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Um,
I did have an alternate for this one as well. Dana Holgerson as well. Out of exile and teaming up with Dylan Raiola. Let's see what happens.
Be yourself out of exile.
That's right.
Like a Stone, who you got for that? Audioslave is probably biggest hit or most known song.
Kyle Whittingham. Just like a stone, always around, never going anywhere, and just watching all his friends and peers retire or move on, and he's still there and like apparently going somewhere. I'll believe it when I see it.
I considered him. I almost had him on there too. That's a really good one. Mine are going to destroy you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, the first one is Lou Holtz. Just think of all the horrible things he's done, all the bargaining, sitting there in his house, Octo.
My
The part where it breaks down with like the acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And nothing got done. He's like, I'm not even Catholic anymore. I'm a pagan. I'm just trying to get to heaven. I'm like, are you sure?
Are you sure?
And the last one's two-pronged. It's with the both the most interesting people from Miami. That would be Mario Cristobal and Carson Beck. Mario Cristobal just sitting there waiting like a stone. And then Carson Beck is essentially the same thing with Lou Holtz with all the bad things he's done trying to get to heaven, which is the NFL. And I don't know if he's going to.
Just delete Snapchat, bro. Come on, man. Oh God, I've been holding in a cough for like 10 minutes and that I had to let it out after that one.
On a cobweb afternoon in a room full of emptiness.
That's
And we're gonna finish with one of my favorite ones. I Am the Highway.
Yeah, I'm going with Shane Beamer because I could just I can absolutely see. Whoa, sorry. Computer malfunction there. I'm back. But I'm going with Shane Beamer just because I can see him like telling someone this. Like I can see him like looking at Dylan Stewart or whoever and just being like, look, I am the highway. Ride with me and we'll make it where we're going. And like it just seems like I don't know. Like I looked at this song and I struggled with this one more than any other one. I will say that. But then I like that idea hit me and I couldn't get past it.
Pearls and Swine, bereft of me. I am not your rolling wheels. I am the highway. That is Sam Pittman.
The rib master himself, baby.
Whenever it ends for him at coaching at Fayetteville, he's just going to get on the highway in his red convertible. I just saying all this other stuff. And this is the other one that I had with Gundy. It's like, I am not your carpet ride. I'm the knight. Just starts quoting. I am not your rolling wind. I am the lightning. I am not your autumn moon. I am the sky. Just
that is, I mean, Gundy's probably said all of those things. Unironically, he's probably not even heard the song.
He probably thinks it's like he's like, I love that song, life being a highway or stuff. He thinks it's life is a highway. And he listens to it. He's like, this is a little dark, but I think I relate to this quite a lot.
This song was in Cars. That's wild.
And we're gonna float down to Stillwater and ride a pack of dogs.
That's right. Him and Gator, baby.
Gator.
Yeah.
Gator, do you think Gator likes being in the passenger seat flying co-pilot?
Oh, 100%. He sits upright.
Blows his mind, gets some ventilation in the shell.
That's right.
I can feel the wind going down my spine.
It's like pressure washing for the shell, for inside the shell.
Damn it. Oh my God. This was episode 161 of False Start.
Hell
You can
yeah, it
follow
was.
me. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. You can follow the show at CFB False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Five-star review. Yes.
Gotta leave it. Gotta leave it.
Gotta leave it. Gotta do what you need to do. But yeah, man, what are you looking forward to the most in Hawaii?
So I mean, I'm hitting the ground running. So I land at about 7 p.m. Hawaii time on Wednesday, and I'm getting an Uber from the airport to go night snorkeling with manta rays. So that's a pretty cool way to start it. Then the next day, I'm golfing while the conference is still going on. So that's gonna be a good start. And then we're gonna do some hikes around the volcano and stuff like that. I mean, I'm looking forward to all of it. Never been, excited to go.
I'm so jealous.
Hey,
You're just eating a bunch of barbecue pork and rum and pineapple the whole time.
oh, brother, I'm going. Yeah, I will be MIA from work, which is not something I do often, but I'm going to be. To quote Colonel Sanders, I'm too drunk to taste this chicken, and I'm too drunk to do anything related to work.
I'm really excited for you, man. And what are you looking forward to the most with Phoenix for like the brief time you're there with me?
Probably the fact that I'm gonna end up sleeping like an hour and a half the entire time I'm there, and we're gonna ride the line, and it's gonna be great.
It's going to be cool. I'm going to be like minutes from the Arizona State podcast's childhood home.
That's
Obviously, when you're
right.
so busy, you can't really see anybody from that land out there. But I'm looking forward to seeing people get sunburned.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I'll probably show up sunburned from Hawaii, but that'd be okay.
That'd be cool. We're probably gonna have to stay up the whole night before we go back,
Oh,
like last
100%.
time.
Yeah.
Oh, I
What
got
time do you fly out on Thursday?
like 7.
In the morning?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I don't fly out till like 4 in the afternoon, so I can stay up all night. I'm good to go.
No, it's like, do I want to get back into Atlanta about 1:30 or rush
Yeah.
hour?
No, 100%. And
We're
like,
still
if anyone doesn't know, the Atlanta airport is the most inconveniently situated airport in the entire world. I take that back. Denver's pretty damn bad too, but Atlanta's right up there.
it's an airport, and some people really hate it, and I really hate that they're there. So
I actually like the airport itself. Like I think the airport itself is super cool. It's just when you're in Atlanta trying to get to the airport, it's a huge pain in the ass.
100%. Everyone's like complaining about the plane train. I'm like, just how about use your brain for once?
It's also not a bad walk. Like I walk it. I never use the plane train.
I walk there, I get my head right, and I do that. I look at the artwork. I look and see, the the cranes and the history of Atlanta. And when I
Yeah.
see Alberto Gonzuego over there shortly before he died celebrating Coca-Cola, I get really excited.
Yeah, how could you not? It's a good time.
And on his deathbed, I don't know if he prayed to the gods or the angels, but somebody went up to him and said, "Your time has come, Alberto." And this is false start.